In 51 BC, 3 children peered out through the doorway of their very simple Gaul village home in France. And their names were Abbo, a boy who was aged 10, Carantus, his brother, aged 8, and their 6-year-old sister, Blanda. And as they looked out in the yard, they could see chickens clacking and scratching away, looking in the dirt, trying to find something to eat. And over in the corner, a dog perched on its paws, suddenly lifting its head and listening and barking, trying to make sense of the sounds that it was hearing. And in the trees, birds lifted their wings and raised themselves up to beat a hasty retreat. As the children listened, they could hear, in the far, far distance, what they thought was the sound of marching feet. And they looked, and they saw suddenly a cloud of dust raising itself up and moving and taking different shapes up in the sky in the far, far distance. And as they listened some more, they could hear what they thought was the sound of marching feet, getting nearer and nearer and nearer. And at the front of the line of the sentry crocodile of Roman soldiers was their commander, a centurion, beating time. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And as they moved nearer, the sun's rays went onto the soldiers' uniforms, the reds of their tunics, their helmets, and they glistened. And the faces of the soldiers looked straight ahead, expressionless, fearful, strong. And then they got nearer and nearer and nearer. And Abbo, the 10-year-old, put his finger up to his younger brother and sister to warn them that they had to stay very, very, very quiet and not to make a sound, whatever happened. Just as they were passing, near the end of the line of soldiers, Blanda put her knee on a twig and it went whack. The soldier at the end turned his head and looked towards the children. And then he moved on. Abbo's face was pouring with perspiration, and they were all frightened because of what might have happened if they had been caught. And they moved on, further and further into the distance. The children's father was a Gaul warrior, like his friends. He was strong. His arms had been built up with strong muscles through practice and endeavour, working harder and harder to become the greatest warriors possible. And they fought as individuals. And they used daggers and swords and spears which they would throw at their enemies. And this was quite different to the Roman soldiers, because the Roman soldiers fought as one army, in groups, but they were very, very, very well disciplined, very well organised, very well structured, and they worked together as a whole team, a whole group, a whole army, which was quite different to the Gaul warriors. And the Roman soldiers' plans were to make their way right the way down through Europe and across the waters to England, where they would fight against the Celts, the Britons, once they arrived there. Now, one Gaul warrior, who we don't know his name, he was an amazing man because he gathered a lot of information about the Roman army, how they were structured, how they fought, their plans for warfare. And it's called intelligence. And as the Roman army moved its way further and further, nearer and nearer, he decided to go across himself to England to tell the people there, the Celts, something about the way the Roman army worked, the way it planned its warfare. He was the father of Carantus, Abbo, and Blanda, and they knew nothing of his plans until he had gone. And then their mother gathered them round and told them, explained to them, that he was being very, very brave, and that one day, all being well, they would see him again. Carantus and Abbo said, We want to be warriors too when we grow up. And in many ways, even now they were warriors. As they listened, in the far, far distance, they could still hear the sounds of the Roman army.